So her exact words, when I want to read this quote, when the show finally got greenlit after being rejected by everybody, was, "It was my payback. You might have a magazine, but I have a TV show." I don't think Tyra Banks realizes how much that little moment in the intro of this documentary immediately circled why she was so passionate about the show and also why she became the very monster she claimed to be fighting against. How you gain something is how you lose it. If you're doing the show to feed your ego and to feel like you got your lick back because the industry made you feel small, and you're thinking, even 25 years after the fact, you might have a magazine and I went to her, you might have called me a black bitch, but I got my own show. That premise is already so steeped in ego that anybody that you purport to be trying to keep safe, if they are not in servitude to your ego, they are going to be finding themselves shit out of luck. And that's exactly what the fuck happened, right? Tyra admitted, and I think a lot of people miss this. Tyra admitted, I'm looking at my notes on my phone. Tyra admitted in the documentary that this was her lick back to the modeling world, even though she sold it as this way to, oh my God, show how everybody can be beautiful. Sure, that was the icing, right? Making women feel seen and being able to posture as a savior was the icing. The cake has been and will always be Tyra Banks' ego. And that's why her talk show made me disenchanted with her, because she kept centering herself in other people's narratives. Tyra Banks does not know how to be an ally. Tyra Banks thinks like a white woman who's never actually had anybody sincerely hold them accountable through consequences. Even when she had consequences, it was like a soft landing of a consequence, right? A true ally is someone who knows they can never be centered, because that's not allyship, that's co-opting. Tyra Banks always calls herself an ally and then pushes you out the way and centers herself. I have seen it happen for 30 years now. That is not a fluke, that is her character. And it kept showing up even in this documentary while she was feigning accountability. So Shandy comes on the show thinking this is going to be her surrogate family, because that's how Tyra presented it. It's how Tyra presented it to everybody. You know, whenever you're working in a toxic company or particularly a toxic nonprofit, you know that you're in trouble when they start saying, we're family. That means they want you to do some groupthink and fuck your dignity, right? So Shandy goes on the show and is doing better than she thought. They finally take that trip to Milan. Milan was their very first ever, this is season 2. Milan was their very first ever international trip. And from that point forward, international trips would be like considered the ongoing highlight of every season. They're in Milan. They're doing all this stuff with these male models, right? They love to bring male models in back in the day on the show. They get a message saying, hey, the male models are going to come over to have cocktails with y'all after the shoot to unwind. They're all excited. They start drinking. Shandy ends up drinking about 2 bottles of wine. She is blackout drunk. The producers had told them, we're going to film you 24/7. The only time that we will not film you is if you are in the bathroom by yourself. But the second a second person goes into the bathroom with you, that is not private doo-doo time. That is a conversation that we need to have on camera, right? So this girl who weighs a buck even, she was about 100 pounds back then, right? This thin young girl, and her thinness matters because at my big age and big ass, if I had 2 bottles of wine, it'd be night juice, okay? I'd be in the fetal position with a body pillow drooling. So imagine what this girl's dealing with, right? So Shandy is drinking in the hot tub in Milan, thinking that she has a camera crew keeping her safe. You would never think you're unsafe when there's a whole fucking camera crew with there, right? And also, again, the rules. You are only unsupervised if you are in the bathroom alone. The second you go in the bathroom with somebody else, they're going to tape you. Shandy blacks out and wakes up in the shower. Jay Manuel would later confess, we were all hanging out and got a message that Shandy was having sex in the shower. Shandy didn't consent. You can't consent when you're blackout drunk. She said, I knew sex was happening, but I was so blacked out, like I just kept on coming in and out. And then she woke up in the bed. Mind you, the camera is rolling the entire time, and they're filming this man assaulting her, raping her on camera, and nobody intervened. This young lady got assaulted on camera, season 2. Not only did no one intervene, the very next day, Tyra comes to meet the girls. Shandy is a sobbing wreck. She's crying. They literally show her on the show sobbing, crying. She doesn't remember what happened. She just knows that somebody slept with her without her consent. Tyra sits down at a table with her and the girls and starts to give a speech about how, hey guys, I know we're in a different country, but it's not a good idea to cheat on your boyfriend. You need to have better control over your vagina. Tyra repackaged Shandy's sexual assault as her cheating on her boyfriend, and the episode was called The Girl Who Cheated. It became one of the most iconic episodes in the history of the show and was marketed so heavily. The only reason they didn't show the full assault for entertainment was because right before the show was about to come out, Janet Jackson and Justin Timberlake were on the Super Bowl halftime show, infamous titty incident, and there was a crackdown on indecency. There was a crackdown on indecency because of Janet Jackson's right teat, and that is the only reason why they didn't air the full grape. They aired most of it, though. Oh, guess what else they aired? Shandy said, "Can I please go home?" They said no. She said, "I need to go home." They said no. She said, "Can I at least call my boyfriend?" She calls her boyfriend and is sobbing. And he's like, "What's wrong? What did you do?" And she said, "The worst thing you could think happened." And he said, "You slept with somebody? You cheated on me? You fucking bitch, I hate you." So she's getting broken up with 24 hours after being raped. And she said when the cameraman and the sound guy finished filming the scene, they walked over to her and said, "We are so sorry that we had to tape that." That became the clip, the promo clip for the entire episode. Shandy gets dumped right after being raped. Tyra makes the entire cast come on her talk show. Shandy says, "I'm damaged from what happened to me on this show. I've never seen that scene. I'm disgusted you aired it. Please don't air it if I go on the show." Shandy sits down, and the minute Tyra looks at her, Tyra leans over and smiles and says, "Watch this." And she plays the grape on her talk show for the entire audience. And Shandy, a victim, is shaking and looking down. And Tyra pauses and says, "Why weren't you watching? Why were you looking down? I just noticed you were looking down. Why weren't you watching the scene? Are you ashamed? Is Eric still with you? Oh, Eric broke up with you because you cheated on him." I'm looking over my notes. Tyra started to flex because, let me look at the stats. The show had become huge. 100 million people were watching the show in 180 countries with global spinoffs. And they shifted to doing 2 cycles a year after Shandy's sexual assault helped them become 10 times more popular. The drama of the Girl Who Cheated episode helped push them into doubling their order from the rest of time onward. Oh, I'm getting so mad. You taped that young girl blacked out, being violated. You taped it. You watched her listless body being ravaged by a stranger. And rather than be ashamed of yourself, you made it your promo. Tyra Banks is a monster. The very predators that she, in the beginning of her career, was a victim to, the very folks that she wanted to get her lick back at, the minute she got a taste of success, she became them. She became the very monster she claimed that she was fighting.